Again, I think this will probably be the last of this series. I'll know for sure by the time I get to the end. I'm going to be working on the belt this time, and I think I'll just work on one of these objects and then we'll just assume the rest, and you'll be able to see the final piece once it is completed. So I'm going to start off with this canister here, and I envision this canister as being something metallic. Possibly it carries a liquid or something that you would want to carry in a cylinder. So we're going to, since it is metallic, we're going to give it a metallic look. So we're on the belt layer. We're going to lock the transparency. I'm not going to worry too much about this background belt. I will probably do that as a separate layer once I have finished the foreground pieces. This is just to kind of help give me an idea of where things are. So let's start off with this belt. I've already done some rough highlighting and shading on it. Let's work on that some more. So let's pick up one of the darker colors here, and maybe we'll pick up one of these edge pixels and give it a little bit of the background yellow color. And we'll set that to multiply. And we'll start with 30% and see what we get. All right, so that's going to make it nice and dark, and I'm going to just work that down. And again, this is metallic, so I'm not worried too much about getting some really severe values on here. And let's now work some highlights. So let's pick, I probably don't want to use the yellow yet. I'll use the yellow towards the end. We'll change that to screen. 30% might not be enough. Looks like it'll be fine. So we're going to work out some areas of highlight where things catch the light. And again, we're going to use some blown out highlights because this is metallic, so it's going to be pulling up some pretty severe light reflections. Now what I'm doing right now to get these nice straight lines is I am constricting with the Shift key to make sure that my brush only goes up and down. Fortunately, my canister is in an up-down direction. There's another program that people use other than Photoshop for doing digital painting. It's called Painter, naturally enough. And it has the ability to allow you to rotate the canvas as you work without actually disturbing any of the pixels, just rotating the way you're working on the canvas. That always seemed to me to be a really nice feature, but I'm so used to Photoshop after gosh knows how many years, since around 1990 or so, that it's just so much easier for me to do things in a program I'm already comfortable with. So let's use our blend tool now to pull some of these things around. Oops. Let's use our blend tool to pull some of these things around. And we can go with a slightly higher strength. Let's go with around 90%, and that will allow us to actually pull some fairly strong lines out. I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to work this around. And maybe a bit of a lip here. Let's go back to our brush tool and pull a bit of a highlight out there, maybe a reflected floor. And then go back to our blend tool and blend that out. Now let's give this a hard edge, and we'll be almost done with this. So we'll pull up a dark color. Actually, let's pull up a dark color from here, set it to multiply, a fairly strong multiply. Let's go up to around 60%, and we'll use that constraint key to give us a nice hard edge there, and we'll probably go back and soften the inner edge like we did with the chin in a previous step. And let's just pull some nice edges off of here and put a nice edge where that lid screws on, and do a little bit more blending. Let's use a bit bigger brush. We have a nice soft brush, and let's reduce the strength of it so that we get a gentler blend. And again, I'm using that Shift key, which is really helpful to give us nice straight lines. pull that edge out there a little bit to where it fades into the bottom. And soften that edge a bit there. Let's zoom in a bit there, and we can really soften this edge. Let's pull this in. Let's pull the strength up to around 60%. Now, a lot of the things I'm giving here about the percentages of this and the percentages of that is mostly to fill time. People work differently. No two artists are going to paint the same way. I certainly do not paint in any standard fashion. I'm pretty much self-taught in terms of technique. And last thing, let's even out that bottom a little bit. Let's turn off the opacity lock. Go to our eraser. Make it much, much smaller. And let's just make that bottom a little bit more natural looking. And there we are, a metallic canister. Something's not quite right there. That shadow is just too dark. There's no reflection on it. So let's turn our opacity back on. Let's pull probably this yellow out. Make sure we have a nice soft edge, and we're going to want to work light, so let's go with about maybe 20%. Bit larger brush. That might be too much. Oh, and we want a screen. Too much. Let's go with about 5%, and we'll just build it up. And blend it. Make our blend a little bit larger. That's quite a bit better. Now we can do one thing to really make this pop, and we will take our brush and we're going to add what's called a rim light. Since this is metallic, it's going to concentrate its reflection on some areas. And let's pick up this yellow. Let's pick up a nice bright yellow. Let's make our brush smaller. It's set for 5%. We're going to take that way up to about 70%. That might be a bit much, but we're going to... Now you'll notice much thinner up here, much darker, or much wider down here. That's that pressure sensitive tablet I was talking about. We're going to pull that over a little bit. Now we want the inner part of that to fade, so we're going to take our opacity, set it to around 30, make our brush a bit bigger. And we're going to want the very edge of that to go almost white. Now normally I would work on this on a separate layer that I could turn on and off in case I didn't like the look. But I think it's going to be okay here. Now let's blend that a little bit. Make our blend smaller. Pull that rim light there. And we're almost finished. Doesn't look like much here, but we want to add a couple more bits up here. Let's pull that yellow out. Blend it in. And do the same thing down here for that bottom edge. Now we've got some sort of a manufacturing seam or something here. Let's pull that white. And do just a little bit of blending. And when we pull out, that should look a lot more realistic. Look at that. That looks like a metallic canister. All right, and I might work on it a little bit more, but that's probably enough for this tutorial. I think that's pretty much it. The only thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add just a little bit more shadow down here and keep working out the details. So I'll append a finished drawing or a finished rendering to the end of this tutorial, and thank you very much for listening.